So anyway, what's up, guys? Today I was going to talk a little bit about some more thoughts and findings and moving through what life is, and so of course, and quite naturally, the concept of hermaphroditis has been of interest to me lately, as well as its meanings and associations. Like, if we're going to talk about like any concept of the mind or of reality, it has to be understood that it will represent something physically, but then it'll also represent something symbolically. And of course, symbolism is one of the most interesting, intricate, and culturally appropriate situations that any human being can contemplate, between the space of what is a word and between the space of a concept that has to be put into some type of word in order to communicate it person to person, or at least for like the majority of human beings and experiences, or at least it was like that traditionally. So even because of that change from tradition into what our current society is like now and how these things fit together, what does that mean for the reality of the physical manifestation of such things? Of course, then you get into different cultures, and there's respect to each one of them, but the human individual life is to be held and perceived by the individual. So once any concept comes too far from that intrinsic reality of that person, it becomes something false. You could call this a lie, and trying to place these concepts that may or may not fit onto any specific individual causes issues with the production and the efficacy of that human being together and separate from their identity, but then also who they are and who we all are. Okay, so a crude concept, right? There of course is some type of delineation between what is and this is about LGBTQIA stuff now. There's a line between what is considered what is, like, okay, for example, like a trans person represents a different concept than what would be hermaphroditis, even though they may in some capacity or some fashion of crossing represent a similar representation that is like hermaphroditis. For example, a lot of people don't even recognize that trans men, when they take hormones, it causes them to have a second puberty. So basically they go through a whole masculine puberty and that's not too unusual from where the starting point would have been in the first place. It's not too estranged. It's estranged, but it's like compensated for. So it's like that whole concept there is like a concept that needs to be understood more. Like, for example, if you're talking about, if you are into traditional thought, right, and you understand the social stages of a human being, regardless of what their gender starts as, then it becomes a concept of what, like, hermaphroditis, for example. There's also a condition called intersex, which is different though than what is called hermaphrodite, because hermaphrodite has become a slur. So they'll just go around calling people hermaphrodites, which is why I need to be thorough about what I'm saying to you, because hermaphroditis is a concept And a hermaphrodite, or rather an intersex person, is a person. And each one of these people, exists naturally in the form that they are in some capacity. It was either naturally inspired or naturally begot. And not enough people know about the entire umbrella of what an intersex person is. So when you start getting into that, that's again gets into people's human rights and just generally what other people understand against what someone else understands and how that causes conflict. That's just like the speculum. Alright, so it says to shake it 6 times, right? I think that was 13. Or the division of what is male and female, which are only said to be at odds with each other because if they both didn't exist, then nothing in the middle would. It would be, our lives would be an entirely different concept. So, it's, all of it is with its own need for respect. Like, it doesn't need to be understood as a change of what is known, because that's a false concept. But it does need to be, recognized that they're human beings. In general, everyone's a human being, but there are human beings that need specific help and specific attention. And, it may be different from what you're expecting. And the mixing of the love between the male and the female is just a concept in Buddhism as well, where, the balancing or the internal balancing of an individual through their problems once they become their own parents, and working together in order to create a beautiful and whole person, a beautiful, healed and whole person. That is, at least in some part of my opinion, the definition of what, hermaphroditis is. It's the union, it's the marriage, which, maybe what that represents. Wouldn't that be interesting if hermaphroditis represented marriage? I think that is true, though. So that is just like the beginning of the deep dive into the concept of what hermaphroditis is, and I'll probably update y'all again sooner than later on what's been figured out. So I love y'all. Peace. I'm done. Bye.